I had a chance to talk with King of Culture, big journalism activist, Andrew Breitbart. From the right's perspective, do you think the right will have more influence in the culture and in the media as it develops? Do you think it'll develop in its own form? Will it grow up from within?
Yeah, it's going to be organic, and part of the problem with the right, even though it is the majority in this country, this is a center-right country, the majority on the right get into other fields. They're not drawn to getting tenure in academia. They're not drawn to coming out to Hollywood, and if they do, they learn to shut up really soon for fear of reprisal. And so those that are involved in the activist right tend to be involved in politics, and those that are involved in politics think in terms of the election year. And so they think in 2-year, 4-year, and 6-year cycles. That's deeply problematic because you're not going to change the culture in 2 years, 4 years, and 6 years. I believe that it's going to take a generational commitment for right-of-center people to get involved in the arts, for them to get involved in the media like they haven't in the past, and to just, boldly try and transform something that I believe is manifestly corrupt, and that the American people no longer want to buy that product, and that from a capitalistic standpoint, there are immense opportunities out there. It's just going to have to take a long time and a lot of commitment, and for those people who are young and committed to the cause to say, is it in the movement's best interest that you put all of your resources in the election year and into politics? I think that it's better that people get involved in investing in film studios. If a conservative bought one of the alien studios in Hollywood, if they hooked up with a conservative in Hollywood, and there are many of them, to say, how can we create product that the American people want and don't reject? And I think that the Pixar movies are a perfect example.
Is the infrastructure being developed or in place for this sort of movement to happen, I think?
Well, I mean, they're going out there and they're testing the waters to see what's viable. And I'm a supporter of Right Network, and I wish them well. If I were in charge of a network, I would do what the left does. I would just make movies. I would just make television. And I would not put a big thing on the forehead and say, what you're getting is this. So I kind of believe that the culture should be stealthy. I think 300 is an incredibly successful movie. The Incredibles is a successful movie. You don't leave The Incredibles or 300 thinking, I just saw a conservative movie. But if you go back and you analyze it and you look at its DNA, it's clear that these people are fighting for the ideals that the people that you witness today are fighting for. So it's expensive. I mean, I imagine The Incredibles cost upwards of $100 million. And same with 300. So what I have found in Los Angeles is the greatest capitalists in the world are the leftists in Hollywood. They take immense risks with capital and reap the benefits, and I think that their guilt for their success when it happens causes them to be a reactionary leftist in their political worldview and create an inherent conflict.
Yeah. I want to hear about how you got your start, going kind of from being in Hollywood into this kind of activist role in exposing the left, talking about the issues that they have both in Hollywood, in the media, and in the big government sphere.
Well, the interesting thing about being called an activist is I guess that's what the left is trying to call me right now, because the stories that I'm breaking, tend to ruffle the feathers of people who are on the left, but I'm doing nothing different to the left than what the left does to corporate America when it goes in and it does an expose on a corporation that may not be doing something that's ethical or to their liking. And those people reward themselves with great gifts and awards, for that effort, and it's considered journalism. But the type of investigative journalism that I do, the type of stuff that I expose, happens to be about the business of culture and the business of journalism. And so when I recognize that there's a problem in Hollywood, when you recognize that, you know, during the period of the Iraq War for 8 years, for example, this is not indicative of the whole, I'm just using the Iraq War as an example, there were about 15 movies that were made that were against the military, that took a very strong stance against the war. And the left said, I guess nobody wants to see a war movie. But there was never a movie that represented that which we're fighting against is worth fighting for, that the enemies that we're fighting are worthy opponents, that their value system is something that's worth fighting. And so you only got one side of the story, and that's what you get in the mainstream media as well.
I'm Drew McCullough. Thanks for watching.